Hello Idle Hero fans, thank you for tuning in today as I'm going to be doing a video similar to the style of one that I did earlier about Mickey, where I talk about a specific hero and their rise and fall through the meta. And as the title suggests, that hero this time will be FlameStrike. Now, if you played the game about 4 to 5 months ago, and a little bit longer than that, you will probably have known that FlameStrike was the dominant hero for a very long time, basically since she came out. And when she was released, 6 stars I don't even think existed at that point. I can't remember exactly, honestly, but I know that if they did, people hadn't quite been to the point where they had full 9-star teams yet, so a lot of characters still had lower HP. And if you're going up against a full 5-star team, or even a team that has, say, like 7 and 8-star heroes, and FlameStrike happens to hit you with her ability once 1 or 2 heroes have gone down, then she's going to one-shot your whole team. And that was seen very early on. She was released with Edgar, which was kind of... he's continued to kind of be a disappointment, because it feels like when they released FlameStrike, that was when they kind of decided that new heroes should be like determining the meta. And Edgar kind of got the shitty end of the stick on that one. Oh, there goes the monetization. But yeah, he kind of suffered for that. And it's weird to see that since then they've kind of gone on and off with the heroes and which ones are strong and which ones are not as they release them. But my point being that FlameStrike as a 6 and 5-star was absolutely destroying people. And you could see it because there had already been strategies with a very similar style. Instead of using FlameStrike, though, they would use Aiden. And specifically, I know on my server, Server 4, on Official, there was a guy who used to run a bunch of heroes like Bleeker and Malisa that would just kind of chip away a little bit, stun a little bit, and in Bleeker's case, when he died, he would pass on stats to his allies. So basically, his whole strat was his team would do pretty much as much damage as possible in 1 or 2 turns, and then die, and then give all their stats to Aiden, and then he would just destroy people, because he has a very similar passive as FlameStrike does, where when ally heroes die, he gets a whole bunch of damage and can just nuke the enemy team in one shot. And when FlameStrike came out, people were very quick to realize that she was basically just a better version of this. Not only did she have kind of better stats for it in terms of her passives, because not only did she have her allies die, but she had enemies dying as well, would give her stats. But she also had higher base damage, I think, at the time, if not still, as well as the fact that her HP was way higher. So having way higher HP allowed her to actually survive longer into these fights, which was what facilitated her to be able to just explode and everyone else would die, and she'd be left as the only hero alive. And even for a while, actually, after, say, I think 10 stars came out, there was a guy on the private server, I think his name's just Kyle, actually. He kept this FlameStrike strategy for a long time. He did a little bit differently, though, where he would stack on top of that. He had a Michelle who would kind of defend FlameStrike, where Michelle would die once, and then using her revive passive, she would come back and still be alive. But because she had still counted as 1 death, FlameStrike would still get stats, and Michelle would just allow her to go off. But in this case, Michelle can still act as a frontline, because if you put Michelle in the 2nd slot, it's very difficult to actually get at FlameStrike consistently. Now, as time has gone on, though, a few things have come out to kind of counter FlameStrike, and I think the biggest one has been mostly the fact that crowd control and heals have become super important. And one thing to note is that while it seems like FlameStrike just one-shots the whole enemy team, most of the time she doesn't do that from full HP. Like, if your enemies have full HP, she's not going to kill them in 1 hit. Usually it comes down to a fight that lasted 4 or 5 rounds, and she just happens to be the last one left on your team, and then she uses her ability for like the 2nd time, and because your enemies are at, say, half or even maybe 3/4 HP, then she can hit them all in 1 shot and knock them down. But with the current meta being so reliant on heals from Ormus, from Vesa, from Bambi, and things like dodge becoming relevant, it's very hard for her to actually one-shot teams from full HP. And if you have a unit like FlameStrike on your team, she's not actually committing that much damage before she starts to get these passives procced. And I think that's where a big part of the issue comes in. Not only that, though, like I was just saying, dodge is another thing. She came in just as Mickey kind of fell out. She kind of pushed Mickey out of the door. And ironically and coincidentally, I guess, it kind of makes sense because Mickey is one of the natural counters to FlameStrike, because due to the fact that FlameStrike is just a single target mage for her basic attacks, she's just hitting the front line and the first target available. If she's trying to hit Mickey and Mickey dodges 2 or 3 attacks in a row, FlameStrike is doing nothing. So luckily for FlameStrike, she kind of pushed Mickey out of the way and was like, hey, I can do all this damage now because all of my attacks are hitting and nobody is using healers at the moment, so this is the perfect meta for FlameStrike. But as time has gone on, more people have started to adopt not only Mickey back into her team, but characters like Rosa as a dodge tank, or even other rangers as a tank, like Ice Blink with some dodge can do pretty well, even passively. If I guess it's not here, but you can get him up to say 25-30% dodge without having to commit even too much to it. So that becomes a big problem for FlameStrike. Now, the only thing I would say that kind of saves this is that hit used to be a thing. Like in the guild tech tree, it would be easier to get some hit. I think mages have. Let's go check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure the mage tree has hit. Yeah, exactly. Mages do have 15% hit, so that would kind of counteract some of the dodge. But now, especially if you're running a dodge team, you're going to be taking Emily as well, or at least in the end game anyway. And Emily gets rid of 20% hit, so that negates all of pretty much FlameStrike's ability to kind of rebound back into the dodge comps. So now you're looking at dodge negating her, you're looking at healing negating her, and right now crowd control is super important. And so many people in the top tier have demon hunters or ice blinks that are loaded with energy artifacts that mean there's a good chance she's going to get frozen and she's not going to do anything. And honestly, I kind of feel like it's a cop-out saying that crowd control is a counter, because crowd control is a counter to most units, but because FlameStrike is a mage, she's generally slower than a lot of other heroes as well, and that being the case, you're also probably not going to put speed gems or speed artifacts on her because you want to do that damage that you require her when she like tries to finish off the whole enemy team. Because you're focusing her on damage, she's just not going to have the speed to keep up with even something like an Ice Blink that has a speed artifact. Let's clear it to 6. So, or actually, even Besa, he has 788 speed, where she has 777. So, which is kind of a funny number, but Ice Blink is going to go faster than FlameStrike, and when you're slower than crowd control users, that is a big problem. And because your build and your kit doesn't really allow you to specialize into speed, that's even more detrimental. So right now, FlameStrike is in a kind of an odd spot where she's not terrible, and neither is Aiden, honestly. Like, they're not the worst heroes, but the problem is that they're just counterintuitive to the meta right now. So this is something we could look into the future as things start to shift maybe into the likes of Corpse Demon and Dark, or not, sorry, Dark, yeah, I guess Dark, Shadow, and Abyss. If the meta does start to rotate towards them, even stuff like 20% chance to freezing is not terrible for Ice Blink or for FlameStrike. She's willing to accept that, and where these heroes generally aren't dodge heroes, maybe she'll come back into the meta as time goes on. But right now, it's just, this is not the meta for her, and with Ormus and Vesa being so strong, it's so hard to put FlameStrike on your team successfully. She's still a mid-tier hero. I would say her and Aiden fit there as well, with the potential to kind of go up as the meta changes. But right now, she's kind of stuck in a lower spot, despite being one of the best, if not the best hero for a very long time. So guys, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys still like FlameStrike, or do you think she was always overrated and just that people didn't realize her weaknesses? Tell me what you think of her. I've always found her to be one of the most tedious heroes in the game. I think she was on my least favorite heroes list, if I'm not mistaken, so you've probably known that I hated how she kind of dominated the meta, and it felt like there was very little ways to deal with her back then, but I'm glad that it's kind of rotated away from that. So anyway, guys, if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and have a great night.